Hi, everybody. My name is Robbie Dick, and I'm on the ControlM Solutions marketing team at BMC Software. And it's my pleasure to kind of be the host and kick us off here with a discussion with a customer of ours. So, without further ado, let me get right to it. So, Jason, if you could tell us your name, title, and a little bit about your job responsibility, that would be great.
Thanks, Robbie. My name is Jason Garner. I'm the manager for the workload automation team at Finaster. What we do on the team is we handle the automation of batch processing, file movements, and pretty much anything else that we can automate that would help our clients, internal and external.
Okay, great. Finastra, what does Finastra do?
We're a fintech company that provides financial services and solutions to financial institutions.
Okay, financial institutions. So who are your customers? Are they just the big financial institutions maybe we've all heard of, or do you have consumers as well, individual consumers as your end customer?
We kind of do a little of it all. So from the highest level to almost to the individual, we kind of cover it all. So we support pretty much anything and everything.
Okay, great. Now I think you started to go into it, but any more on your team's responsibility and role? What does your team help do for the organization?
My team primary goal and responsibility is ControlM. We own everything ControlM. We install the servers, we install the agents, we build the job flows, we build out we script. So we do everything: batch processing, custom scripting, file movements, and back end, front end. It's all us.
Okay. Great. Now we're getting to the part that I think everybody's excited to hear. You mentioned ControlM. You're the ControlM team. Tell us a little bit about, just high level, the usage of ControlM at your environment. Maybe some of the environment key platforms, maybe applications that are important to Finastra that ControlM is involved with.
We use, honestly, we've got agents deployed across anything and everything: Windows, Linux, AIX, Solaris, mainframe. If you can think of it, we've probably got an agent, thrown on it somewhere in our environment. We use it for file movement and batch processing. It's, we host it on-prem in one of our data centers. We host it in the cloud, Azure, at the moment. We're actually moving everything into Azure, ControlM, the EMs, the schedulers, but we still point out to agents that are on-prem, Azure, wherever they're at, we point to open a firewall, get to it, and run on it.
Great. Now you mentioned you seem to call out file movements or file transfers as a specific part of what you're responsible for and what ControlM's involved with. Is that the only job type that you're running in ControlM, or is that a significant part? What do the file transfers look like, and how ControlM is involved there?
We probably do about 50% file transfer, 50% batch processing. We've got some tools that we have that utilize batch scripting that gets into our products that we currently run, that we host. So we run batch processes through that, but with the MFT and file transfers, we move between 150K to 200,000 files a day using MFT, and it's expanding. Part of my team's responsibilities and what we've been working towards is centralizing and making a more cohesive solution for batch processing and file transfers. So what that means is we've been eliminating other solutions that we've used in the past. We have Skybot. Skybot's a batch processor batch processing scheduler that we use. We're looking to eliminate that. We've had past ones we've had CA AutoSys, which is very very similar to ControlM, but we've absorbed that workload into ControlM. So as we pull in more solutions into our ControlM product or our solution, our job count is going up, our file count is going up. So we utilize quite a bit across the board.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I'll say you mentioned already 200,000 file movements a day, and you're saying that's growing. So that's already a big number, but more to come, it sounds like. So
Yep.
You mentioned some competitive solutions that you've used in the past. You've mentioned large amounts of file transfers. I would assume that you're moving that into ControlM for a reason. Maybe you were having some issues or problems in the environment. Can you speak to that just a little bit?
I wouldn't necessarily say there were any issues, but what it comes down to is when you're maintaining multiple solutions, you're just is it in this one, is it in that one, is it in I mean what ControlM has, and as it's expanded over the years and provided more functionality, it truly is a all-in-one solution. So we can do a pull on a file, we can do a batch process against it, we can move it to another solution, another area, do another batch process, and then ship it back out the door. And ControlM provides that centralized, fast, efficient, and reliable automated experience that we wanted to provide our customers and even our employees, because we help do internal tasks as well as external tasks. So ControlM's, although yes, there's pain points because we do have multiple solutions, but it's not that they're all bad. It's just that ControlM can, it's one solution that gives us the dashboard and the monitoring and then the ability to roll it out easily, and we can provide secure access to other areas so that they can look into it. It just really expanded our ability to cover more areas, but with a smaller team, a smaller overhead. It's just it's all in one spot.
No, that's fantastic. It's a story I've heard before. I've been fortunate enough to work with ControlM for the last 22 years. And I would say if I could summarize, it's hard to summarize what are probably thousands of customer discussions and interactions I've had, but it's hard to summarize. But if I could do it in one statement, it's basically what you just said. It doesn't make all problems go away. It doesn't mean you are having tremendous problems. But when you're delivering a business service, if you're doing it with 10 different components or pieces, and there are problems, it's difficult to understand where the problem is, how to resolve it, how much time you have to resolve it, and that getting all of that into one single point of control or single pane of glass in and of itself provides benefits to the organization. So is that I paraphrase a little bit what you just said, but I think that's an accurate summary, is it not?
Oh yeah, very accurate. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and again, it's impossible to summarize thousands of customers' stories like that, but that is by far the number one item I've heard across the globe when it comes to ControlM and file transfer. So that's great. You mentioned about half of your jobs are file transfers, maybe about half or batch processes. I would assume they are kind of intertwined or come together. You may have some batch jobs or traditional operating script jobs that trigger file transfers and a file transfer or multiple, and then it's back to some batch processing. Is that safe to say it's your batch flows, your workflows look like that, where it's a combination of file transfers and related non-file transfer jobs together?
Definitely. We definitely have quite the chain of jobs between batch and file movements and the like.
And does that, you mentioned a little bit at the top about your customers and what Finaster does. Does that, do the batch jobs and the file transfers touch a lot of the services that you provide?
Yes, it does. Quite a few of our solutions we host in our data centers. So the back-end processing that the clients use and that helps process throughout the day is done through ControlM.
Great. Now, how about any other, are there specific other applications that are key platforms? I know you said just batch jobs, but are there specific databases or data repositories or warehouses, other maybe commercial applications that you have a lot of workloads in?
We don't, outside of our products, we don't utilize it yet. It's mainly for our products within Finaster, the offerings we have. I'm not doing a lot of SQL calls for database, creating reports or anything at this point. It's something that I do want to look into in the future, because I mean, for what we utilize ControlM for, we probably use 25% of its functionality. It's got so much that you can do. It's just, we've only had the capability or the access at this point to, or the need to utilize probably 25% of it.
Well, unfortunately, that's also not the first time I've heard that in all those customer discussions. I mean, ControlM, as it sounds like has a tremendous amount of capability, but it's hard to take advantage of it all, and you've got to start somewhere. It sounds like you primarily started with file transfers, but that's great. As our managed file transfer offering introduced a few years ago, really expanded greatly the capabilities that ControlM brought to a file transfer environment. But you mentioned how many file transfers and applications. How about benefits? Any specific benefits to Finaster or the team or yourself? What are some of the benefits? What's a day in your life like now, maybe compared to what it was like when you had the file transfers and the workflows in multiple solutions?
I mean, it's night and day. I mean, that's one of the main benefits is the visibility, the reliability, and just having it centralized. Because in the past I've had to hunt down a file transfer from product A to figure out why my batch process on my side hasn't ran, only to say, okay, I've created the file. Where did you guys send it? So it's nice. The workflows, very nice to have the centralization of the dashboard, because as you said, workflows are our mainstay. I need to know when I process the file, where the file went, when it went, encrypted, decrypted, and having a workflow within ControlM where I can say, okay, point A, yep, it did that part. Point B, point C, point D. Oh, it failed here. Okay. So it makes life of tracking down issues way easier. But I mean, it all, to me, it all comes back to, it's a centralized, I pull up one dashboard. I pull up and I look at it, and that's it doesn't matter what product I'm using, what product I'm supporting, it's all within that one instance. It's one location.
Great. Okay, let me pivot just for a second. You mentioned Azure earlier, but we didn't go into any details of that. It sounds like you're using ControlM in the cloud, and are file transfers involved in that? Speak a little bit to your cloud adoption and what that looks like, if you could.
Oh yeah, we've stood up in full environment up there. HA, it's built in the east, failover to the west. Fantastic. We use for the file transfers. We've got some servers up there, and yeah, we move files within Azure just like we would on-prem. It's very, and not to say it's no different than on-prem for me, because honestly, it's a firewall ticket and an agent. I mean, that's the benefit of ControlM, because you don't really care where, as long as you have access, as long as you have those ports open, you can run, server A clear over here and server B clear over there. Doesn't matter where it's at.
That's music to my ears. I love the sound of that because I think a lot of times folks think that companies that are undergoing digital transformations, whether they started it years ago or started it days ago, and are involving maybe some public cloud or services or providers, and they quite often, just like many applications, they have their own built-in workflow or orchestration engines. But if the benefits that you mentioned, or the statement saying you don't really care where it's at, it's just a firewall open or a ticket, and then you're running workloads and workflows where you need them. That's fantastic. I love that description of it. How long ago did Finaster start with Azure in the cloud? Has that been something fairly recent?
Our ControlM instance is in the last few years. I know that as a company, we were putting stuff in probably a couple of years before that, but ControlM we're probably 2+ years within Azure.
Okay, great. So certainly didn't start that transformation a day or two ago, but maybe a couple of years ago, a few years ago. Yeah, you went down that path. So that's great. What's next for ControlM at Finaster? Is that it? You're sitting where you're at now, or do you have plans for the future, either changes in workloads or a little bit of the capability? You said you were only exploiting some. What are the plans for ControlM in the future at Finaster?
Right now, our goal is to continue to consolidate some of the other solutions. I think that's, I've mapped it out 2 years out. I think I'll get pulled in as much as I can. Obviously, I don't think we'll end up with one solution for all. It's not bad to have multiple tools. It's just using them in the right location for the right thing. But we do have some more solutions out there that we are looking to pull into ControlM. That's my roadmap for the next 2 years. After that, I'd love to get into like some of the API functionality of ControlM. We're still, there's aspects that we might be able to utilize it. I'm continuing to build out some Power BI dashboards to give some of our higher level execs, easy access to some of our data. But you know how it is with technology. You never know what you're going to do tomorrow. So consolidation is goal 1. Goal 2 is, when that's done, what's out there for me to do.
For sure. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you never know what's coming tomorrow. You know that what you had yesterday, you're probably never going to retire, or it's going to stay there some way forever.
Yep.
But I think that's true. But it's absolutely true. You're not sure what's happening tomorrow. But even with that said, it sounds like you've got a little bit of a short list of what's next for ControlM at Finaster and how you're going to use it. And you mentioned SQL calls earlier, so. Just a little bit of a commercial for ControlM for databases. So you probably know it's available, but it's at least a 6 or 7 year old, or introduced 6 or 7 years ago, but had some significant improvements over time to give you support for specific SQL specific job types in your environment. So I'd add that to your list too, but we can talk about it offline. But okay, well. Really appreciate the overview and a little bit of a look into your role, Finaster, and ControlM, and specifically managed file transfer at Finaster. So really appreciate the time. Thank you very much, Jason.
Thank you.